Hey everyone, it's Adam again with the Outdoor Adventure Center. Today we're going to show you a video on how to set up a great tarp for your next camping adventure. So for this demonstration we're going to need a handful of things, including a 6x8 tarp, some tent stakes, and a ridge line. We're also going to show you how to use some trekking poles in the event that you need to do an alternative setup where you don't have trees. So I've looked around and found this great setup. I have this giant spruce tree on the left and then this hemlock on the right. The ground is also nice and flat, so it's going to be a good place for me to lay down. So I started by tying my ridge line with a bowline on the large spruce tree. This larger tree is sort of the anchor tree. This is what the bowline looks like. If you want to learn how to tie it, there's lots of great resources for learning how to do that. So on my other end, I'm going to tie a trucker's hitch. And this is done by taking a loop in the rope and passing a bight through the back of it. You'll pass the other end of the rope around the tree and then pull back to create a 3-to-1 pulley. You can see I'm doing that here. Once you've pulled tight and created enough tension, you're going to put a backup knot behind this system so it doesn't slide. You don't have to use a ridge line. You can use the P-cord coming directly out of the tarp to tie onto your trees as well. So now you can see I'm unfurling this sea gasket, which is how we keep our P-cord nice and wrapped up when we're not using it. And what I'm going to do here is tie a taut line hitch. I'm going to tie this hitch on both ridge lines and all 4 corners. It's got a lot of advantages, including that it pulls nice and tight and it doesn't damage the fabric of your tarp if you pull too hard. The way I like to remember this is that I like to line up my P-cord across my ridge line and make a number 4. From there, I'm going to wrap on the inside of that number 4 3 times. Once I've done that, I can take a bight of rope and then pass it behind the 3 wraps in order to create a lock on my sliding taut line system. You can see when I pull, this makes the center ridge line tighter, and I'm going to do that on the opposite side as well. This is what my tarp looks like with both ridge lines tied, and now I'm going to work on the corners. The important thing here is I'm going to pull in a 45-degree angle coming off the corner of the tarp. When I put my stakes in the ground, I want those to be angled 45 degrees as well, pointing away from me, not straight up and down. This is important because if there's heavy wind, we don't want our stakes to pull up out of the ground. So I'm just tying a taut line here. Again, I'm going to follow the same concept, make a 4, wrap 3 times, and then put a backup behind it. Then I'm going to pull taut. So the next part of this is important because I've started on the front left corner. I need to go to the back right corner and pull opposite with a taut line hitch on my next stake. Then whichever one I choose, I do opposite to finish. It's important to work in this way so you can get all of the imperfections out of your tarp. Any creases or folds in your tarp are areas where water can pool. Over time, the tarp will also start to sag and droop. So in general, if you can pull tighter and further away from the tarp, you'll be able to get a nicer line. You can see here I'm just tightening as much as I can to try to make this tarp look as good as possible so it functions as well as it can. These final details take a little bit of extra time, but it's definitely worth the effort. So this model of tarp is considered an A-frame. This is a great sleeping tarp. If you wanted to adjust it to cook underneath, you can move your ridge line higher. That would give you more headroom. If you find yourself camping on a backpacking trip where there's no trees, it's okay. You hopefully have brought trekking poles with you, and you can use these really simply to create 2 anchor points. I started out on one corner by tying a clove hitch on the top of the handle of my trekking pole. From here, there's going to be a line that goes down to a stake, which I then tie a trucker's hitch back on in order to get nice and tight. You can't pull extremely tight at first when you do the first one. You have to wait to put both trekking poles in the ground in order to pull very tight. Just like on the other side, once I have one side done, I walk over to the other, tie the same setup, and tighten and adjust until I have a ridge line that's taut. Then I can start to work on the corners. In doing the 4 corners, I'll do the same exact thing as I did with my first setup, alternating and opposing each corner using the taut line hitch, pulling low and tight to the ground at a 45-degree angle with a stake oriented 45 degrees into the ground. So here's the finished product, a low, large sleeping surface for you to have a great time in on your next camping adventure. Hope you've enjoyed learning how to make some tarps today, and I hope the next time you're out you practice these skills.